Well, mine's a little dark. I just feel a lot of concern that 2024 may be the year of a black swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine. And we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran. And that's what concerns me most.
So essentially what this public-private partnership at the WEF is pushing for is for every person's access to the internet to be tied to a digital ID or a government-issued ID, but presumably a digital ID just because of where government-issued ID programs are all going essentially around the world. People aren't necessarily going to consent to that unless they are made to believe that anonymity and privacy online are dangerous. So how exactly can you convince people that that needs to happen? Well, you have some sort of event where anonymous hackers do something online that causes major disruption globally, and then the consent can be manufactured through fear and panic, as is often done, that anonymity and privacy needs to be eliminated, that we need to know exactly who is doing what online to prevent a calamity of that scale from ever happening again. And this is the exact solution that these guys have been cooking for a very long time.
Hackers affiliated with China's People's Liberation Army have infiltrated critical services here in the U.S.
It was actually a very shocking result to us that there's very few number of substations you need to take out in the entire United States to knock out the entire grid.
Knock out the entire grid?
That's correct.
How many would it take to knock out, putting the entire country in a blackout?
Less than 20.
That report was from 2013, and it actually found the number was even lower, 9. Taking out just 9 critical substations could black out the whole country.
This was a huge cyber attack in the panicked early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, targeting a $1.8 trillion government agency. The truth of it has never been reported.
This is the Department of Health and Human Services, and on March 16, 2020, they were going to full remote work. Network operators had to adjust all their firewall and security settings to allow hundreds of thousands of new unknown connections into their network. So they had to scale down their security all at the same time.
And that's when the attack struck.
China's preparing for war with the United States. The strategy here is that they want to be able to invade Taiwan. They're worried that the United States will project military power from bases in Hawaii and the continental United States to Asia to defend Taiwan. And so what China's trying to do is to do these cyber intrusions, lay in wait, and at the right moment attack ports, attack water supply, attack energy supplies to prevent the United States from projecting military power forward.
CBS report has found that the U.S. government's terror watch list has now grown to 2 million people.
And it has nearly doubled in size over just the last 6 years.
In the wake of the attacks in Israel, border officials say they've seen a growing number of people on the FBI terrorist watch list trying to enter the country through the southern border.
The figures show that in fiscal year 2023, CBP arrested a total of 154 non-citizens on the government's terrorist screening watch list. 151 of those individuals were arrested along the southern border. The numbers are up from 98 in the last fiscal year. The numbers represent a small fraction of all migrants processed at ports of entry.
We are right now in a very dangerous moment in the world, a very unstable situation.
News Nation has learned asylum seekers in New York City are going door to door.
Because of political instability at home and abroad, because of the climate change crisis that is facing us each and every day, because of our global supply lines that are not as resilient as we had hoped. It is time for us to take action. And it is time for people like millennials and like progressives who have historically not been invested in their preparedness to take their action and preparedness journey right now.
Hookups got thrown. People get thrown.
we are in the greatest bubble in modern history, all the way back to where the stock markets started in the late 1700s.
That was Harry Dent, a best-selling author and financial editor who received his MBA from Harvard Business School, and he has a dire warning about the economy in 2024.
That will then be the crash of our lifetimes.
Hey financial warriors, welcome to the show. Now what you just heard are predictions from Harry Dent, who released his monthly rant about the economy on his YouTube channel a few days ago, and was also interviewed by Fox Business about his predictions that we are in an everything bubble, which will finally burst in 2024. In this video, we will go through what he predicts, and remember, this is just one scenario that could play out, but it may help you manage your risk next year. And as always, none of this is financial advice. So the prediction that is grabbing headlines from Dent is an 86% crash in the S&P 500, a 92% crash in the NASDAQ, and a 96% crash in crypto. Now, you may think that sounds insane, but Dent references the 1929 to 1932 crash, which, if you go back and look at the chart, was a drop from 550 all the way down to 100 on the S&P 500, which is over 80% down. This is part of what he calls the 90-year cycle, where a massive once-in-a-century crash happens at roughly 30-year intervals. The first one was 1836 to 1842. The second one was the 1929 to 1932 crash, or the Great Depression. If we add 90 years to the peak in 1929, that gives us the next peak in the 90-year cycle around the year 2019, which would be the pre-COVID high for the stock market. Now look